Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with the IP Business Talks. It's Wednesday with our old slot, so to speak, and I hope that you have the time in parallel, for example, to your lunch, to listen to us. Today, we start a new series, and this series is about personal growth. That goes back to our experience at the i3PM conference in Strasbourg, which we had in July, and the discussions around personal growth and the sessions were so crowded and so intensive that we decided that this is something which we should discuss within the IP community. So this is the start of that series, and we don't do it alone. We do it together in cooperation with i3PM Committee, Personal Growth and Soft Skills Development, and we also will invite the committee chairs from this committee also to join us. So today I have the great honor to have Giulia Donato with me. And for the ones who follow our channels, you should know that Giulia is a columnist and on our blog and in the newsletter. And she's writing every second week a column about personal growth and especially on personal branding and especially on personal branding for IP experts. So Giulia, I'm very happy that you are with me today. And first of all, it would be great when you could explain us how you started to come into that field. I mean, personal branding, yes, but you are really focused and passionate about IP experts with whom you're working and about your column is. So what is your background and how did you started to work with IP experts?
Yes, thank you, Alex. First of all, thank you very much for having me today in this talk. You say it right. I have always had a great passion for brands, for brand strategy, for clear and compelling brands. That's my my common thread. I think first of all, why do I have this passion? I think compelling and clear brands drive innovation, promote trust, and strengthen a company's influence in the market. And in order to have such strong brands, you need, of course, a consistent and clear brand strategy. That's why I became a brand strategist. And I think a brand strategy, it's the foundation of the whole company communication, both internal and external. It's not just about external communication. I've been working in brand and communication strategy now for 17 years. First in different consultancies and agency for different companies. And then 2 years ago, I founded my own firm. And I started as working as an independent brand and communication advisors, also for companies and consultancies and executives. Along my career, I've been working for a very big variety of industry fields, from automotive to FMCG, from NGOs to fashion, insurances, really, really, really bright field. And the one common thread among all my projects for the different industry was actually helping executive and companies to build a clear positioning, to sharpen their messages, to sharpen their communication strategies in a way that they could make more business impact, that they can grow on the business levels. And at some point in my career, I start observing that actually this is not just about organization and companies. This is also about individuals, because individuals as well, they also need exactly the same clarity as company do. I observed how leaders and executives in different fields who could express their story, who could express their positioning, their skills, their value, their know-how, they were clearly the ones that could shape on the long term the conversation and the whole industry. They were the one who could grow their business. They were the one who could seize new business opportunities. Of course, these has become even more stronger, even stronger if we think about how remarkable social networks on the business level, like LinkedIn, had become like in the last 6-7 years. It's even more stronger than it was like 10 years ago. And that's why basically I came up to personal branding. You know, we always did in our work with like big companies, like big brand positioning. We always think like, just let's think about the brand as a person. How does it person behaves? What values has this person? And actually, you can make this exercise the other way around. If you think like of an individual, in this case of a professional, as a brand. So that's why I came to personal branding and how I came to personal branding. And now the question about IP expert, a very interesting one. Around 1.5 years ago, I had a project. I was working on a brand positioning for an IP firm. And I realized how absolutely crucial for innovation the work of IP expert is. Like, in protecting ideas, in building strong brands. So in some ways, I realize, I think we kind of have a similarity. I think we both make sure that brands can become stronger, can grow stronger. I think IP experts do this in ensuring that brands and innovation can grow on a solid ground by protecting in a legal way inventions and designs and brand assets. What I do as a brand strategist is ensuring that the distinctiveness you as an IP expert protects. I ensure that this distinctiveness doesn't stay hidden, that it becomes visible, that it becomes relevant, that it can be also trusted in the market. So I like to think, since I did this project, that in some way, although we, of course, use very different tools and very different language and act in a very different way, but we do share one common mission. And this common mission is to give brands the foundation they need to grow on the long term. Just IP expert do it with law, and I do with communication.
Absolutely. And I mean, that is what I try always to explain, that this visibility of IP experts has had a lot to do with awareness building. And awareness building comes typically from the institutions, from the EPO, EUIPO. They say we have to create awareness for IP, but that means especially that this is the job also for the IP experts. And that reminds me, Maria already wrote her first question. Maria, unfortunately, you're not with us, but next time we have together this chat. And Maria said, during the conference, she said, we have to sell IP always twice. So first you have to sell IP itself, so convince people that IP is relevant for them, and then you have to convince them that you are the right guy for them. And so what I try to say is that is more or less the same. So it's not self-promotion. It has a lot to do with explaining people why IP is relevant for them and why I am the one who can help them. I mean, that leads me to one of the typical misunderstandings, right? So that personal branding is quite often associated with self-promotion. and that is something which especially IP experts, especially experts, don't like. So they don't want to talk about themselves, so to speak. I mean, there are some who like that really to talk about themselves, but most of them are kind of shy, and they come from the perspective, so I'm doing good work and that should be enough, right? So what is your position? So how can we explain that self-promotion does not mean personal branding?
Yes, I know this problem. I know very well this common misunderstanding. This is not just about IP experts. It's actually about experts in general. A lot of experts, when it comes to personal branding, they think it's about showing off. It's about like self-promoting. It's about like randomly, more or less, like posting content or doing selfies. That's actually couldn't be further than the truth. I think, just to make it very clear, I think personal branding is about three things. First of all, I see personal branding is about clarity. What I mean is, personal branding means knowing exactly what you want to be known for. And this clarity is very important. This is the very first thing. This is really the foundation. Second, it's personal branding is about credibility. Um, I mean by credibility, aligning the way you act as a professional, so the way you work, with the way you are perceived outside. So it should be exactly the same. Like the way you act and the way you are perceived out there should be completely aligned in order to be credible. And third, it's about consistency, meaning it's about showing up in ways that make you always recognizable and memorable. So people know that's Alex. I know him. I know his way of working. I know his skills and his knowledge. And so what personal branding actually is, not self-promotion, but actually shaping how your distinctiveness as a professional, your uniqueness as a person, as an expert, is perceived out there, is remembered from your peers, your colleagues, your potential clients, and valued in the market. So in that way, you can actually influence conversation, grow your business, seize new opportunities that you wouldn't able to seize if you wouldn't be known out there.
I mean,
So yes,
yeah, so that reminds me to I checked already that this is the right guy who I cite now. It's Jeff Bezos. And
yes,
he said that personal branding is what people say about you when you are not in the room. And I think that is because, when I'm talking with our subject matter experts, especially in the onboarding phase, which is quite critical, because then they are committed. They say, yes, I want to collaborate, but then, yeah, what does that mean really? Okay. And in that onboarding phase, we have lots of discussions, especially about this positioning issue and what means personal branding. And then quite often they tell me, look, Alex, at the end of the day, I get my clients because of a personal recommendation. So it's word of mouth. I said, yeah, this is exactly the point. So what is the reference? What exactly can people say about you? Not just this is a good one or whatever. So what is the key message which you coined why this recommendation happens? I think that this Jeff Bezos is brilliant in explaining that. And but obviously there are certain barriers, or how Maria calls it. She asked the question, what yeah, give me I put it here in. So she says, what's the most surprising internal belief or mindset barrier you see that prevents IP experts from investing in their personal brand? I think that is really really the key to the whole discussion. What is your experience on that?
Talking about barriers, first of all, I would just to remark this example of Jeff Bezos. It's very interesting because this is one of the most used example by me in my presentation keynotes. Also, when it comes not just to personal branding, but just to branding in general. So, thank you for mentioning this. It's absolutely true. And when it comes to barriers, I would say it's just I see two main barriers. I encounter two main barriers when I work with experts and personal branding. The first is no, this is not for me. I'm not a marketing person. I don't want to post content or selfies on LinkedIn. And honestly, I agree. I see this barrier. I see it as well because sometimes I think it myself as well. That it
They call
feels
it they call it the cringe mountain, right?
yes, they call it the cringe mountain. You need to climb the cringe mountain in order to achieve the land of coolness. Yes, but yes, of course, you can just make an effort. But what I do is trying to reframe the problem. So I like to see it that way. Branding and personal branding, especially for expert, it's not about ego driven. I think it's more like service driven. Like think about how your expertise, how your knowledge, how your skills are important and making a difference for your clients, for your peers. And using and developing a personal brand, it just makes this experience, this expertise, these skills accessible and visible for the people who need it. So just reframe it and don't think about it just about me, just about promoting me, but think about how my knowledge could help others. That's one barrier. The second barrier I'll also encounter is I don't need personal branding. My work speaks for me. This is also one of my favorite sentence, and the truth is not really, because if people don't know about your work, then your work cannot speak for you, and work can only speak if it's seen, if it's understood, and if it's appreciated. And you need to make sure people see you and remember you. If people don't see your work, don't see you, they won't remember you. And if they won't remember you, they won't trust you. And if they won't trust you, they won't work with you. So basically it's just a misunderstanding. And basically also what I say, just it's not a huge thing. You have to think about, like, every time you already do personal branding. Every time you give a talk, every time you publish an article, every time you are at an event or share something on LinkedIn or in a panel or whatever you do, you are creating visibility. You are already doing that in somehow. So the only question is, do you want to leave this visibility to chance, or do you want to start deliberately think about how you present yourself?
Yeah, by chance, but I think it's even worse. Okay. Because when you're not working on your personal brand intentionally, systematically, strategically, somebody else could do that. So
Yes.
it doesn't lie in your hand anymore when you don't work on it. So others could do it. And this is definitely not what you want. So I think it should be in your hands as expert what people think about you and what they say about you, what they tell to each other. And that is these chance which lies herein, and especially for the business, but also for having, sometimes experts complain to me and say, look, Alex, I don't have the right clients. I said, what? Who is the right client? I said, yeah, my perfect client. And then they start, so interesting technology and a certain willingness to pay. So all things which I understand 100%. That makes totally sense. But how likely is it that when you are on a conference and you on occasion rushes in a person that this is a representative of your perfect client. So the probability is extremely low. So what it means when you create your brand is that you become attractive. When your positioning is right, you become attractive for the perfect client, and that reflects. So the better your positioning, the clearer that is, the more apparent you are to your target group, the closer is your target, is the next client to the perfect client. And the opposite is, I had yesterday a meeting with an Indian IP consultant, and at the end, his positioning was, I can do everything what the Europeans can do, but I am cheaper. I said, look, honey, that doesn't work in that way. So this is the opposite of a positioning, just being cheap. I mean, what is your message to others? That's obviously the opposite of a positioning. So when I mean, let's say personal branding is a big topic. What is your recommendation as a first step? So how can IP experts start to ask questions to themselves, so to speak?
So sometimes people are like a little bit afraid. Oh my God, I have to start like do personal branding, and I want to reassure those experts and tell them you don't have to start big. You don't have to make a huge effort. You can start, you can even choose to start small. I mean, it's up to you. But the very, very important thing is that you start on a solid strategic foundation. This is very important. Otherwise, you end up doing something like randomly, or just some marketing activities, or producing content without a clear direction. And this clarity, this is very important. It has to happen before you start with your activities. So first of all, the very first step and the most important one is like defining your positioning, as you said in your example of the Indian IP consultant. So what do you want to be known for? Not being cheap, but just what are your strengths? What is your experience? What are your key skills, your perspective? These perspectives that set you apart from the other ones, from the crowd. And who's your target group? Because of course it has to somehow match with your target group, the clients, the kind of clients you want to attract. Second of all, your brand, this is not your CV. Your brand is your story, the story of your purpose. So you have to think about crafting a narrative, your values, your signature themes, the things, the topics, the issues you want always to be associated with. This creates clarity for you, for your positioning, and makes you memorable for others. Third, choose your platforms. Think about, where do I meet my clients, my peers? Where is relevant for your market, for my market? Of course, LinkedIn is an excellent tool for expert, but it doesn't have to be the only one. There are plenty of other relevant platforms.
Excuse me, especially LinkedIn is a third-party owned social media channel. So it's nice to be on LinkedIn. It's wonderful having followers or a community there. But when you misbehave in the perspective of Microsoft, you can be shut down, and you have no profile tomorrow. So that should be always back in the mind, that this is not an owned channel by you. It is something from a third party,
Yes.
which is absolutely critical here.
Yes, exactly. I mean that there are events, there are associations, there are academies, teaching engagements, industry journals. I don't know, that there are plenty of different platforms. Think about it and choose the platforms which are relevant and meaningful for you. And then start small, but consistent, because consistency beats intensity always.
I mean,
You
that is
don't have.
that is these false impression that that you have to follow every trend. Yeah, you see that this is now the 100th who is posting anything from any conference or whatever, completely without content, without message, just hi, I'm on Inter at the bar. And yeah, I mean, yes, this is a trend, and yes, you have your post, but what is the meaning? So who should, I mean, you should always remember when you post something on LinkedIn, the question is, who wants to see that? So why should somebody takes time on LinkedIn to watch, to observe, to read this post? And when you have this in your mind, it's not relevant to post every day or every week. I mean, once a week is not bad, but it should be relevant that you have to say something to your target group,
Yes,
and that's it.
of course. Choose a consistency, choose a regularity you can sustain from content. You know, it's better you choose like once a week, or I mean, even every other week, but it's something with content that reflects your positioning, that reflects your experience, your lessons learned, or your advice. And
Absolutely.
then the last one, it's think long term. Personal branding is not a campaign, or not like a firework you shoot once and that's it. It's an ongoing strategy that grows with your career, that grows with your experience, that can, you know, evolve and change also with the change the industry does, because, you know, you have to also to watch out for the trends out there, and to see if that always are aligned with the things that happens out there. So it's something you have to like to keep up doing somehow.
I mean, there is a very tricky question. So obviously, Maria is pretty active in that field, and she has a very good question. Obviously, so when an IP expert has deep technical strength but weak communicative instincts, how much of a brand building should follow their natural style versus how much should be stretched or even forced to adapt to audience expectations? So that is really a tricky and quite advanced question, and but I think a extremely relevant one, because I don't think that it should be too much aside of the natural behavior, because at the end this is authentic. And when somebody is not the guy for the big platform, or for, I mean, there are these guys who always, when they make a post, they make a picture from themselves. So what is the message of that picture? Yeah. So yeah, you can do that, and the argumentation is, yeah, because then at the next conference people will see me, but I have already always your picture on LinkedIn. It's not necessary to make another one in the post. Yeah. So and I would say most experts are completely away from that style, just that the picture from you is the message of the post. So that doesn't make any sense. But give it to you this question. So how far can you stretch these natural, authentic behavior of experts to meet the expectation of target groups?
I think we need to separate two things. That one thing is like the clarity about my positioning, the clarity about like the core of my strengths, of my skills, of my experience, and the other thing is like, how do I present these things? Of course, you can like think about how to write the right post, what kind of picture you post, or the way you present a keynote, or talk at an event. You can do a little bit of an improvement, but I think staying authentic is the most important thing, because what your client, your potential clients, your peers, and the market appreciate you for, it's your knowledge, it's your skills, it's your expertise. It comes up to showing and making this visible. So the essence of personal branding is not reinventing yourself, no, but translating what you already do, who you already are, into a clear, compelling presence that others can connect with. Yeah, this is very important because, facts, figures, these are important numbers. It's important, it convinces, it gives, like, it provides a proof of your expertise, but stories connect and make you memorable. And if people remember you, they will engage more easily with you. And that's what makes the difference, this connection.
I like so much what you say. I
I
mean,
think,
I have this discussion again and again when we talk about social media. So when should I post, and what is the right format, and all these technical questions? Yeah, where I say yes, that's good for the last 10%, yeah,
yeah,
of your reach. And yes, you should have the 7 big pillars in your profile, because when you don't have the information in your profile, LinkedIn will punish you with your reach, blah blah blah. So that are all technical things which have nothing to do with personal branding. This is just creating the right routines and use the algorithm in the right way. But the point, what you said, is create stories which creates connect to you. And so how did when you want to talk with startups, when you want to talk with scale ups, when you want to be seen in a certain industry, so focus on that. And to the audience, we maybe there are ones who are not already subscribing the newsletter IP Management Pulse. So we have every issue, we have 2 guys in the whom to follow section, and we have already 43, 44 issues now out there. And you can we have an archive there. You can retrieve all these issues, and in every issue we have 2 guys whom to follow on LinkedIn. So and we think they make a lot of things right. So just look at them and try to understand what they are doing, how they do that, and how they realize at the end of the day the recommendation from Giulia. So they write stories, and with stories you can connect, and you remember 2 stories. Even when you don't know the name, you remember that this was the guy who said this and that. The story is in your mind, even when you don't have the face and don't have the name at the moment. And then you check who was that. And for that, by the way, ChatGPT or Perplexity can help a
yeah.
lot.
I always say people connect to people. What I also say, and also in my lectures at the university, is people, they won't remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. That applies also at a professional levels. You can be brilliant in your field because you have great skills and strategy skills, but if your knowledge and your expertise stays locked in technical documents or just in private conversations, then it won't have the impact it could. And that's actually a pity. Just imagine a house with a very, very solid fundament. Yes, it's like very solid ground. This is very important for a house. Your IP strategic skills and knowledge, these are the ground. This is very important. Otherwise, this house can't stand. But the people will get inside the house because of the structure they can see. And this is what they can see. That's the thing that made them step inside and stay in the house. And then they can appreciate the ground, the solid ground. Of course, without solid ground, the house can't stay. But without the structure outside, which is visible to the market, then no one will get inside. So
Absolutely.
you actually need both.
Brilliant picture. Brilliant picture. So Dominic, who is also a committee chair in the I3PM Committee for Personal Growth and Soft Skill Development, he has another great picture. And he says that personal branding is a kind of investing in yourself. And that is also, I think, a very important point, that you invested already in your academic training. You invest in developing skills. You became a patent attorney, trademark attorney, whatever. And that is such a heavy investment that you should do the best out of it. And the best is continuously investing in your personal brand. And that creates then these visible house, which is on top of this fundament. So without the fundament, so then it is just advertisement, so to speak. And this is exactly what doesn't work over the time, because what you said, Giulia, is it is a long-term strategy. So it is not something which you do today and we will see the benefit tomorrow. That's not how it works. But over time it works, and we have so many wonderful examples for that also here on our platform, who really convert then their visibility into their business with their clients, which they would like to have. So at the end of the day, it is a business strategy, obviously, but it is not in the way that you just self-promote that you are the greatest.
No, absolutely not. And it's a process, because you grow, because your career grows, because you do different experience. So you need to sometimes check in if your personal branding is still keeping up with and aligned with your values and with your skills. And what you said, about the investment, I think this is very, very important, because above all for IP expert, they have spent so much time and invested so much energy in their experience and in their skills and in their knowledge and in their know-how. And so you want to make this visible. So you should, of course, invest also in your personal brand. This is not an optional extra. This is a very important part of your professional growth. If you want to attract the right opportunities, if you want to be seen and understood for the expertise and the skills you already have and you gained with such a big effort during the years.
Yeah, and I saw, and of course, IP is also a crowded place. So there is competition out there, obviously. And when you want to avoid that only your price is the decisive, makes the decision, so then obviously branding comes into place, and to convince others that you are really worth what is paid here, and this has to be shown, and otherwise people don't know the difference between certain experts. There's one thing, I think that is also, unfortunately, I can't see here in the studio who is asking that, but I like really pretty much this question. I'm curious to know, how do you tell the borderline of content for personal branding as either relevant or noise? So the floor is yours.
I think it's hard to define this in an absolute way. Relevant is something that it's relevant for in a certain field or for a certain target group. So first of all, you have to make sure that the content you produce is aligned with your clear positioning. This content reflect exactly your values, your skills, and your expertise. So in a way that it's clear and compelling. Very first question to know if it's noise or not. Second very important question is, does it fit to the needs of your target group? So of course, you have to know what kind of needs has your target group, and then you can adjust your positioning to the needs of your target group, to your target group insight. This is very important to have a good understanding of what people are actually looking for.
What I really like is this idea to say, okay, read the post, stand into the shoes of your target group, and ask yourself, does this post makes the day for a representative of my target group? And for that, you have persona. Does that make the day a little bit better? Is there something? Can your target group do the job better? Is there something which helps them to overcome a certain challenge whatsoever? Does that change maybe a perspective? Can it help in a discussion? So the filter between noise and relevance is always the target group and the value of this information for your target group. And what Giulia said, I mean, it doesn't help when you communicate relevant and helpful content for your target group, which does not fit with your positioning. So obviously, these two things have to come together to make it
absolutely
to make it relevant, and the rest is noise.
And credible, because as you said, the relevant point is of course very important. Like, what are the benefits for my target group when I post and make this develop this content? But you have always to make sure it's also credible, because if it's not aligned with your positioning, with your skills and your values and your knowledge, then it's risky. Then it becomes not credible, because it changes, and one day you are like giving some kind of benefits to one target group and the other one, so you miss in also in consistency, in also being memorable. Then it's hard, because people don't recognize you anymore. So that's very important what you say.
Yeah, exactly. So I would like to wrap up a little bit. So that was a lot of content, and the good thing is people can watch the recording and they can read your column, and so they get all. And we have these white papers now also to all the different aspects. And for the ones who are in Germany, they can come to our Weichmann event at the 10th of October, where we discuss that. Giulia will also be there, and we discuss that in depth with lots of IP experts there. But as a summary, I would say my take-home message from what you said is, first of all, personal branding is about clarity, visibility, and trust. And whatever I'm communicating, I should have that in mind, so to speak. That are cornerstones, pillars on
Absolutely.
what we should do. So then the second message is that it has something to do with personal growth. Could you give us here a take-home message? What is your one line which people should remember when it comes to, is it an add-on, or is it something which is really mission critical?
I think you have to think it this way. Personal branding and investing in your personal brand is the way you make sure you seize opportunities you couldn't seize without, because you make this what makes you distinctive, what makes you unique, your expertise and your knowledge visible. If you don't make these things visible, you can't grow, because it stays locked in a vault, and you want to unfold this knowledge and unfold this expertise, and only unfolding this you can grow, and you can unfold this just with personal branding and investing in your personal brand.
What I like so much about content marketing is that, so what you said is share it with others. So share what you know, so that people allow you to do what you can. And that is
Yes.
really the difference. Also something which people confuse so often. So I don't want to share that it's my knowledge. I say, yes, but the knowledge don't brings you to the can. So how can you apply that? And then people will hire you to that you can really help them. So Giulia, let's say that resonates to some of the audience. What would you say as a first, let's say, question, a starting point when I would like to get a little bit deeper in that topic? What is this one question which people should ask themselves when they want to think about personal branding?
I would say, first of all, think about and answer the question, what do I want to be known for in 3 years now? And start from this very question. And from this answer, you can start building your personal brand.
Thank you very much. Famous last words. I have one comment which I would like to share in the show, and then we can stop. But what Fidel says here is so truth. At the end, everything is about people, especially
Absolutely.
when we talk about IP. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Giulia, for that
having me.
discussion. And please, to the audience, when you want to go deeper into that field, when you want to be seen, when you want to work with European companies, we are so happy to help you, to collaborate with you. Our subject matter expert call is still open, and we are happy to collaborate. Thank you very much for this talk and for all the content. Follow Giulia. You see Giulia every second week in our column in the newsletter IP Management Pulse. And this was definitely not the last talk which we had about personal branding with Giulia.
I hope so.
Thank you very much, and bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.